We are also being joined in by Mr. Andrew Whitehead, who's a former BBC correspondent and also a senior journalist. He's also joining us live from London. Now, Mr. Whitehead, this is something that was expected. Everyone knew that the clock was ticking for Liz Truss, but are you surprised at how quickly things have happened?
Well, her political authority has been ebbing away very rapidly since she sacked her Chancellor of the Exchequer and had to basically tear up all her tax-cutting policies. I'm a little surprised it's happened quite this rapidly. I thought she might stagger on for another day or two. But there were dramatic scenes in Parliament last night, chaotic scenes within the Houses of Parliament, which suggested that discipline within the governing party, the Conservatives, had completely fallen apart. And in the last few hours, we've had about 12 or 15 members of Parliament publicly calling for their leader to resign and stand down as Prime Minister. And that's now what's happened. It's astonishing. As you say, she's been in office for just over 6 weeks. She's going to be the shortest-lived Prime Minister in modern British history. But we are now, yet again, looking for another Conservative Party leader who will become Prime Minister.
And also, Mr. Whitehead, you've tracked British politics for so long. Do you think it was that disastrous mini-budget that was presented by Liz Truss and her then Finance Secretary, Kwasi Kwarteng, which in fact resulted in this very dramatic exit? Did it start from there?
Yes, I think it did. I think it displayed great political naivety, simply not thinking about how the markets would react, thinking that you could promise huge tax cuts without telling anybody where the money would come from, and at the same time insisting that you weren't going to cut public spending. It was intellectually threadbare. It led to a collapse in the pound, a spike in interest rates, which hasn't entirely abated. And the Conservative Party was in a spiral of despair ever since then. And allies of Liz Truss, as well as her critics within the party, have been saying privately she has to go. I think the difficulty now will be whether the Conservatives have any chance at all of regrouping and regaining some authority before the next general election in 2 years' time, because it's important to emphasise that Liz Truss is resigning as Prime Minister, but there will be no immediate general election. There'll simply be an election within the Conservative Party to choose their next leader, who will then become Prime Minister. You know,
this of course is the big question, isn't it, Mr. Whitehead? Because we just went through that very long process for electing the leadership of the Tory party. And it was Liz Truss who came on top of it, and now she's exited from that position in less than 6 weeks since she was elected as the leader of the Tory party. So are we now going to go through the same set of candidates again?
Well, the campaign that Liz Truss undertook to become leader of the party lasted for longer than her spell leading the party. What she said outside Downing Street a very short while ago is that there would be a new election for Conservative Party leader within a week. Now, I don't know whether the rules are being rewritten. It's quite possible they are. But this suggests that Conservative members of Parliament will have a quick succession of ballots, starting probably within the next 2 or 3 days. And then I think the idea will be that the MPs will recommend a single name to the party in the country, or they will ask the Conservative Party membership, which normally elects the leader, to put their confidence in the choice of MPs only. So I suspect this will be a much shorter leadership election than last time round, but as yet we don't know.
Absolutely, indeed. And so this is how long that Liz Truss has in fact lasted in office. She's the shortest reigning Prime Minister, who's lasted for just over 6 weeks. And the last time there was a Prime Minister who lasted this short was, of course, in 1827. That's how far back we, of course, need to go for the person, to remember the person who, of course, had been the shortest lasting Prime Minister in Britain. Now, my colleague Alex Isat is still with us. Alex, now, this is a very difficult situation for the Tory party. We went through that very long process of electing the leader of the Tory party once Boris Johnson announced that he was stepping down. And the process of electing the next leader, of course, lasted for so long. How soon are we expecting for this process of now electing another leader of the Tory party to kickstart from?
Well, we just heard that it's going to take a week, which is unprecedented as well. So we've got to actually find out these details. Is there already a list out there? Have the people who are writing those letters, have they put forward who they want to be in charge? Whenever there's been discussions with the MPs, there has been no one that's come out on top to be suggested that they will be the next new leader of the Conservative Party. Obviously, until then, we'll have Liz Truss to stay in place until a new member is called. Whether or not she will have any power or she will just be there while those below her in her cabinet are dealing with all of the issues that are going on. We've obviously still got this OBR forecast and the 31st of October mini budget policies that Jeremy Hunt said that he will be putting forward. Is that now out of the window? Because obviously someone who knew who was going to come in, are they going to have their own cabinet? We just don't know those questions yet. This has all just happened so fast. And, it was meant to be that we were looking to go and see what that Halloween forecast would come out with. And then potentially Liz Truss would have left then. But now this has happened basically overnight because of all of the issues from the chaos that we saw yesterday. So we do need some more answers of who's going to be put forward. And then will they change the cabinet? Will they still hold on to all of these fiscal policies that Jeremy Hunt has now declared? And of course, we still have that huge deficit of money as well. Will we still be looking to borrow billions of pounds? And will we see interest rates go up and inflation too? There are so many questions that are still unanswered from Liz Truss resigning today.
Absolutely, indeed. So she was in office for just about 45 days, and prior to her, the person who'd held this rather unenviable position of having been the shortest reigning Prime Minister of Britain was George Canning, and he had lasted for 119 days before his death way back in 1827. This is a record that Liz Truss, of course, would not be very happy that she's now broken, having lasted at 10 Downing Street for just about 45 days. That's how short the tenure of Liz Truss was. Now, Mr. Andrew Whitehead, if I can bring you in on this. Now, the fact is, Britain is staring at a very difficult winter ahead. The economy is in also a very difficult position in the aftermath of what has happened with Brexit. Now, we've seen what the Tory party has, of course, got to offer. Is there a successor who would now want to put his hat in and want to take things on from Liz Truss? Because the position is not going to be an easy one.
Well, the position is certainly not going to be an easy one. And at the moment, the Conservatives are a long, long way behind the Labour Party in the opinion polls. And I think most people currently expect the Labour Party to win the next general election whenever it comes. And that will probably still be 2 years away. But yes, there will be no shortage of people who will aspire to be Conservative Party leader and Prime Minister, even if there may be a sort of that may be just for a couple of years. I think Rishi Sunak is in quite a strong position. He's certainly not a shoo-in, but he's in quite a strong position. And I think if he did become Prime Minister, he would probably keep Jeremy Hunt as his Chancellor and probably bring in Penny Mordaunt from the right of the party, centre right of the party, to a key role. So there would be a sort of a troika of three people from different wings of the party. But it's also possible that Jeremy Hunt will aspire to be Prime Minister himself, though he stood recently when Liz Truss won and didn't perform very well. And there will be other candidates who may emerge. I think my suspicion is the Conservative Party will want to go for somebody who is a known and senior figure who is not going to frighten the markets, somebody like Rishi Sunak or Jeremy Hunt, rather than a relative newcomer. I think we've seen with Liz Truss the danger of having somebody who is seen as not very seasoned on economic policy.
Absolutely, indeed. It remains to be seen as to who, of course, will be throwing their hats in. As you pointed out, Mr. Whitehead, that Rishi Sunak, of course, could be back into the contest in a very big way, and also Jeremy Hunt, the man who, of course, tried becoming the Prime Minister twice in the past, and he, of course, would want to throw in his hat as well. Now, Alex, if I can bring you in on this, because we've heard, I presume, from Keir Starmer, he said that the general elections should happen as soon as possible, but the general elections are slotted to be held sometime in 2024. Is there any circumstance in which the general elections can be preponed, considering that the Tory party is in complete disarray at this moment?
yes, there could be a no confidence vote held, and then the Tory party could ask for this general election, which would be against really everything that they stand for, because it's likely, as you said, with the polls there, that Labour will probably come in and take over. But let's just not forget again that if there is a general election, that isn't going to happen overnight either. You know, we are still facing so many other issues within the United Kingdom that we do keep hearing about: food shortages, we hear about high cost of living, and we hear about bills continuing to go up. I don't think right now that it's really tenable to be able to hold a general election, and that's an extra cost as well. So for both Labour and Conservative and all the other parties that want to throw their hat in the ring for a general election, which is then, you know, that will end up on the United Kingdom's publics. Obviously, they're back with the extra taxes that will go towards trying to do all the marketing and all of that as well. So there's other things to consider when you're talking about a general election. It can't just be a snap decision like Keir Starmer says. And I don't think that he would also think that either. I don't believe that the Conservative members would hold a vote to try and get the general election moved up. It really isn't in their favour.
Absolutely, indeed. And also there's just some breaking news that's come in. The Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, has confirmed that he will not stand in to be the next Conservative leader or the British Prime Minister. So Jeremy Hunt is ruling himself out of this contest to be in the leadership of the Tory party. This of course, is breaking inputs that have just come in. Penny Mordaunt has said that she's going to, of course, keep calm and carry on. That, of course, is what she has said. Now, Mr. Andrew Whitehead, if I can bring you in on this. This, of course, is an extremely difficult moment for British politics in general. The Tory party is politically in complete disarray. No one expected that things would get this bad. But are you surprised at the manner in which the Tory leadership has unravelled?
Yes, I am. It's been clear for some time that Liz Truss's period as Prime Minister was going to be very short. But I am surprised that the Conservative Party has elected a leader who has proved to be so politically inept, so divisive, who came up with economic policies which completely frightened the market, even though the Conservatives often boast that they are the party which provides economic stability. They've not done so in the last few weeks. It's very difficult to see how the Conservatives can actually regain their composure, regain the trust of the electorate in time for an election, even if that is still 2 years away. Some of the opinion polls have been putting Labour's support at double that of the Conservatives. Now, that will change in coming months, but it's still a huge lead for the Labour Party, which a new Conservative Party leader needs to overhaul at a time of cost of living turbulence, high inflation, almost certainly public spending cuts, when a lot of the unease about that economic policy will necessarily be directed towards the governing party.
Absolutely, indeed. That remains the big question as to who the next leader will be and how the next leader of the Tory party will, of course, be able to take things forward.